Hey! So I've pivoted to my other camera. It's not really a video camera, but I think the quality is still better. So here we are. Today I wanted to talk about 7 ways that you should be healing while you're single. And if you stick around until the end, there is a bonus. And it's probably, to me, the most important one. So I recommend hanging in there. But if anyone is qualified to talk on this topic, I would say I am. I've definitely had both experiences of being in a long-term relationship and being single for long periods of time. And by single, I mean no situationships, no emotional attachments, no nothing. Single, okay? So I'm hoping that I can channel some of my experience into making this a helpful video for you. And we could take a long time to talk about all of this, but I'm gonna try and keep it as brief as possible as I do and just roll right through. So reason 1, well, not reason 1, but like one way that you should be healing while you're single is diversifying your sense of self. So a lot of times it's easy to put all of your things into one basket, right? And that's what you don't want to do when you're single or when you're in a relationship. So a lot of the tendency is you can become codependent, right? If you start dating someone and then suddenly your entire life changes overnight, that is a bit of a red flag, I would say, in most cases. And I can say that because I was hurt. I had relationships where all of these things that I had kind of established in my own life just went, and all my routines changed. Things that I was passionate about suddenly just kind of started to fade off into the distance. And it wasn't like I needed this person for everything. It was just that our lives and our priorities actually didn't really align, and making space for them meant sacrificing the space that I was making for things that were purposeful to me. And so some ways that you can diversify your sense of self in your single state that I think will really bolster you to know how to discern a partner better. Like, does my person align with these things? Do they support these things? Will there still be space for these things if I start to fold them into my life, right? So you want to build a community. That's a really, really big one. You want to pour into your hobbies, and a lot of people that I talk to don't know what their hobbies are, don't really have hobbies. I get it. We're in quite a world right now. Not all of us have a ton of extra time, but you have to make the time to figure out what are some things that just bring me joy. Is it sewing? Is it knitting? Is it team sports? Like, you want to go join like an intramural volleyball league, or join like a friend group that likes to cook new recipes together, or just anything. You need to figure out your hobbies, pour into them, discover your hobbies and your interests, and just do things that you're passionate about. Because like I said, a majority of people I talk to don't really know what they're passionate about. Or if they do, they just haven't done those things in a really long time, or they haven't picked up a new hobby since they were a kid. So the same things that they do in their 20s and 30s are the things that they're like, yeah, like I used to do this when I was 7. I just thought drawing was cool. And so, you know, once in a while I'll paint a canvas. It's like, that's great. But you could take so many different angles on art. Like, is that the only thing that you want to do? And to tie in community there, are these things that I could do in community? Are these things that I could find common interest with in other people and build that into my life, even if it's not full-time and it's not your aspiration career-wise? I do really think that you need to have that diversity within yourself, have things that tether you that are not all interconnected all of the time, right? So that's something that I have focused a lot on in the last several years that I have been single. And it makes a really big difference to have a bunch of, like, maybe not a bunch, but at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 different kind of nucleuses in my life that I pivot around and I make space for and I build into my schedule. And then 2, kind of like I mentioned earlier, building a strong community, but in a diverse way. So 1 and 2 are really similar. But to really, again, just kind of emphasize and harp on building a community, you don't want just one community, because if anything happens, you're toasted, right? So it's good to have maybe a community at work if you can, or a church community, a hobby related community, join a book club, join a running club. Just, again, those are so interconnected, those first 2 points. But it's building community with people through things that you enjoy. That is going to give you a life that you love, okay? A lot of people are more than happy to throw away their lives and their plans and all of these things for a chance at like love. But it's not really because they're in love with the person, it's because this is something to do, or like this is a way that I can feel fulfilled, or like I'm doing something important, or like I'm going somewhere, because I haven't given myself that in any other areas of my life. And again, I'm speaking to not me entirely, because I've never been that far in it, but I see it a lot. And I just think community really matters. So knowing who you are, picking hobbies and interests that excite you, and then bringing other people into that sphere and having diversity in that, because I think a lot of people fail to realize how diverse they actually are. They severely underestimate how creative they are and how spontaneous they can be, and how just, just how complex they are. So lean into that while you're alone and nobody else is influencing it. And okay, let's go to 3. So again, I feel like these all kind of go in tandem, but you have to learn to love yourself so much that it's a no-brainer when you need to walk away. So I knew that I was healing right when I got to a place that even if I really, really cared about somebody, like say I'd started dating someone and I really found like, oh, I care about this person. Like I was in this situation like 2-3 years into me being single, probably the first person that I ever really liked since my last relationship. And the thing is, like, if the person isn't in a place to add to your life, or maybe they're not willing to, whatever the case may be, it's just not the right person, or it's not the right time. And either way, that's not really your business, because the only thing we can be concerned right now is the present. What's the present moment that we're living in? So I just know that like a few years ago, when I didn't have all of these things built into my life to kind of protect me and steward me and ground me, if I had met this person that I'm thinking of in my head sooner, I probably would have just been okay with compromising certain things that I wanted and just gone along with it and ended up in a lot of pain. But because I literally love my life, I've made a life that I love, it's not like you don't have feelings, or you're not like, oh man, wish that would have worked out, but you have a better sense of discernment and you trust that discernment, and you're okay if you need to walk away. And you also feel safer to invest on the other end of the coin. Like if my life is established in a sense and I feel good about where I am comfortable bringing somebody else in and letting them see what I'm doing, what I'm up to, the things that I care about, because I'm gonna wanna share those things with somebody. I'm not gonna be like, oh, like, if they knew this thing about me, then they wouldn't like me anymore and they're so out of my league. Like, no, we're not having that. We're not having that here. So make a life that you love and learn to love yourself enough that you can walk away if you need to. And it's just literally a no-brainer. It's not hard. 4, meet your own needs. And I want to be careful with this one, because we live in a very hyper-individualistic culture that diminishes the value of community and overemphasizes the value of self. So I'm not trying to do that here. But what I will say is I got this idea from someone, I forget who it was, but basically whatever person is kind of stuck in your mind, whatever situation you're not over, make a list of the needs that they met, even needs that they met inconsistently. So whatever need they met in your life, just write it down and then think like, how can I meet these needs on my own? And by on your own, I don't always mean by yourself. I mean like, what can you bring other people into? And then also what can you meet for yourself? Because it is important to be sustainable on a certain level. We're supposed to be interdependent, okay? So There are some levels of I need peace and quiet with myself to meet certain needs, and then I need community to meet other needs. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna ground you in your singleness, but it's also going to safeguard your future relationship. Because again, a lot of people get into a serious long-term committed relationship and they put everything on each other. And it may not happen all at once, but it happens little by little by little. You like neglect your friends, you neglect the things that you were a part of, and you get so caught up in this life that you've created with this person. You get caught up in your kids, your job, whatever might be going on. And before you know it, your spouse or your significant other is the only person meeting your emotional, physical, spiritual needs. That is not the plan for anybody. It's not the plan. We're all supposed to have sources outside of our relationship, like our main relationship, that romantic relationship, that pour into us so that we are not idolizing our partner. We're not putting them on a pedestal that they can't possibly keep up with. And we're able to be fair to them, and we're able to be there for them and be there for ourselves, right? Important. So that's the fourth one. Fifth one, where was I out of alignment? So whether it's a crush or a serious relationship, whatever it is, it doesn't matter how serious it was, but like what you want to ask yourself is what didn't add up? Where was I potentially compromising? Where did I compromise? Where was I debating it? And what patterns are you noticing as you continue dating and exploring? Because we all should be excited that we have autonomy, right? We have the autonomy to hold responsibility. We can look at ourselves and be like, okay, this person did this, this, and this. I didn't deserve that, but is this something that's happened to me multiple times? If so, where's my blind spot? Because that's not looking at yourself like, oh, like everyone just hates me because something's wrong with me. That's saying, no, I have a growth mindset. This has happened to me multiple times. Could there be something in my childhood, in my past, that is a little warped, or that maybe just like something about my personality that tends to gravitate towards or attract this certain type of person? And where can I hold better boundaries, you know? So that's a process I've done with myself quite a bit as well. And it's really helpful because almost always in any talking or dating situation, you don't have to date for years to figure out you're not in alignment. I'm at the point now where it used to take me years, like at least a year. I was like, oh, nope, we're out of alignment. Now, within like a few weeks, a few months, I know, like, you're great, you're awesome, this is not a match, right? So the better you get at this, where was I out of alignment, or where was the situation out of alignment, the better you will get at just maximizing your time and using it well. I really, really don't think that people have to date for so long to figure out compatibility. And I don't think that situationship type situations help us with this either, but that's another video for another day. 6, be the partner you would want to be with. So again, this kind of flows over from 5. Like, we're talking about growth here. Like, what kind of friend would you want to have? What kind of daughter do you want to be? What kind of mother do you want to be? What kind of employee do you want to be? Like, what kind of stranger would you want to randomly be next to you when you get into an accident and you need help? Like, think of yourself in that larger context, because the thing I really want to emphasize here is, like, in your singleness journey of sorts, you want diversity. You want to think about yourself in context outside of girlfriend, wife, mother, or husband, boyfriend, father. You want to be like, what's the broad spectrum of me? And how can I be the best version of myself in those areas? Because that's going to benefit every area of your life right now and in the future. So you just need to have like an honest self-evaluation, right? It's not about perfection. It's about growth. And a lot of times we all will make these lists, or we're told to make these lists of like, this is the quality I want in a partner, this is the way I want them to look, or this is the kind of personality they need to have, whatever it might be. You need to then think about, like, there's nothing wrong with starting there if you want to start there, but do not have a list like that on your phone or wherever by itself. You need to come also up with a system for yourself. Like, okay, this is the kind of dream partner that I want. Dream it up, go crazy, like aim high. But the higher you aim, remember you're gonna have to counterbalance it with your character and who you are. All right? So if you want a really driven self-starter, you want someone who's gonna like own their own business, you want someone who cares about fitness and about health and about the food that they eat, what are you doing, right? That was a good reality check for me a few years ago. Not because, again, like I was being mean to myself, but I had a lot of issues with my health, right? And so something that wasn't my fault, something that was out of my control per se, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do everything in my power possible to regain my health because I want to be that for my partner, whoever my partner ends up being. I want to be well and I want to care about my body so that they don't have to carry me, because I very much could have stayed in a situation where someone was willing to do that. But the thing is, we act like just because someone loves you at the low, they're gonna love you at the high. That's not always the case. Some people will only love you when you're like a project, right? And you'll never know that if you're not trying to be your best self in the relationship. So be your best self outside of a relationship, completely untethered to anybody. And that will just, again, it'll raise your own standards. It'll be like going back to 3, learning to love yourself so much that it's a no-brainer to walk away. The more you pour into yourself and take care of yourself, the better you're gonna have a gauge on community, on a partner, and all of these other things. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm not gonna run out of time. I might have to like stop and start it again. Thank you, camera. But yeah, anyway, so the whole thing is like, you know, do you hope one day you're just gonna wake up stronger and have more mobility? Or do you hope one day you'll just wake up and enjoy reading more, or you'll, you know, be less drawn to your phone? Those things aren't just gonna happen overnight. So you have to think, like, what are things that I can do now? What are steps that I can take? Because it's not like, again, we're not overhauling everything overnight, but can you take an hour-long break from social media in the morning? Like, don't look at it until after you've eaten your breakfast, and then maybe an hour before you go to bed, no scrolling. And maybe you could replace that time with a book. So we can kind of compound and build these habits in that will give you self-confidence, that will build a life that you love, that will give you better discerning tools in partnership. It'll weed people out way faster, almost scarily fast. Anyway, so 7, when you're safe and your needs are met, you can take more risk. So again, I hope you guys can see, like, I'm trying to build all these little things. If you were to go and like take this video and apply it, you kind of like start in order, right? But for this one, I don't mean like you can take more risk, like go find a toxic partner. I mean, you can date outside of your comfort zone, or you can even stay single longer because you're like, I trust that there's purpose in this and that the right thing will come at the right time, and this doesn't feel like the right time. We're not functioning out of fear. We're not functioning out of desperation. We're not functioning out of codependency. That's what I mean by when you're safe and your needs are met, you can take more risk. We're not giving up the life that we've built for just anybody, right? Sorry, I keep looking at the time. And what you really want, what like the goal of this is, like, you develop an inner trust of yourself. You trust yourself to choose what's best for you and to protect you from the rest. Because there was a time I didn't trust myself, and it showed, and it was not cute. And we don't miss that version of her. We don't, but we learned a lot from her, okay? And that's what we want to get to, is like, you'll be okay no matter what, because you've got you. And for me, the Lord has me, right? I have more freedom to be vulnerable now, and I have more chances to give people because I'm secure. And I trust myself to give without sacrificing my well-being. But it took a while to get there, right? So you meet your own needs, you make sure that you're safe, you learn the tools that you need to learn, and you can take risk. Because there was a pretty large period of time where I didn't take any risk at all. So yeah, I didn't take a lot of risk. I just pushed everybody away and I stayed very single. That's actually what I've done most of my entire life. I was like, you know, I don't trust myself to not get caught up in a relationship, or to not end up in the wrong relationship, or to not somehow end up in an abusive relationship. Like, I don't trust anybody. Like, nobody's gonna be able to meet me where I am. Like, I'm just gonna stay single. And I took no risk. I pushed everybody away. And I don't think we realize sometimes that, like, avoidance, like fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant, it comes from like that kind of fearful, I don't trust myself posture. So sometimes it's like, I don't trust people to not hurt me. Sometimes it's, I don't trust myself to not hurt them. I've been on both sides of that coin. But when you do the work and you learn that you do need to be vulnerable, you need to, you know, do all of these things to be able to find the right person, the right people, it makes a really big difference. I don't feel so misunderstood. I don't feel so isolated from the world and from people. I used to just put on like a really brave face and not let anybody in. And everyone thought I had all these friends, and I did have a lot of friends, but I didn't have a lot of people that I was vulnerable with. I had a lot of people that felt really safe with me, but not a lot of people that I felt safe with. And that was on me. I had to take the risk of opening up, of crying on a shoulder once in a while, and like not only emotionally opening myself up to a romantic partner. And even then, sorry, it overheated, but I was gonna say, even then, when I like opened myself up emotionally, I only ever opened up emotionally to one person in my entire life. So you can imagine that breakup, because I was actually open, which was for me a win. But it was very, very obvious after that breakup, when that was no longer a person I could go to, just how lonely I'd made myself. And I learned so much from that, because at least I tried with somebody and I got there with somebody. I was like, if I could do it once, I could do it again. And if I survived it once, I'll survive it again if somebody else, you know, fails me in some way or distances from me somehow, or the relationship breaks, right? So, all that to say, here's my bonus, the bonus, okay? And this is more so for the people that have a faith basis like I do. Seek God, which sounds so like, oh, okay, like what a bonus that is. But the thing is, the Lord wants to talk to you. He has literally told me, like, go on dating apps, get off of dating apps. Don't talk to that guy. Don't talk to that guy. Now you can go on a date with him, but discern. Like, he's been vocal, right? And to just kind of give you a little bit of my story, a few years ago after my like more serious relationship that broke up, I was like, hey God, I can't be doing this again. So I really want you to take full control of my dating life. I surrender it to you. I'm not gonna make my own decisions anymore, because that's what I had been doing my whole life and it got me nowhere. And he was vocal. All sorts of men from all sorts of random places were just appearing out of nowhere in my life, trying to like take me on dates or whatever was going on, right? And some of them seemed really, really great. And then God would show me right behind the curtain like that. And gone, 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 gone. He wasted no time in filtering out people for me. And he still does that years after I prayed that prayer. Still doing it. The thing is, you just have to surrender your dating life to him, and he will work. You know, he really will. He will work on you. He'll work on the people around you. And you just have to try it. You have to try it to really see it, because I swear, like, there's nothing that he loves more than you just handing it all over to him and saying, I'm your servant, I'm obedient, you do what you want to do, I'm content. Like, make me content if I don't actually feel content. Bring me contentness, bring me peace. He'll do it, right? And on that kind of note, something that people talk about a lot and I get questions about a lot is the concept of the one. So the thing that makes somebody the one is your surrender to God, right? Like, God is the ultimate matchmaker. So you could go out into the world and try to pick for yourself. And you may even pick well, but you can't see 20, 30 years down the road. You have no idea what's gonna happen. You have no idea what that story is gonna unfold into. So the thing is, like, when you surrender to God and you're like, God, I want you to choose for me. Like, lead me, help me to discern, give me the skills and the tools, but I want you to be the one that chooses. I'm gonna submit to your answer. Like, if I meet the most perfect person tomorrow and you say it's not a go, I'm gonna listen, right? That, to me, is what we're really asking when we're asking about the one. Because, like, obedience takes two people. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you know what, if God like ordained you and this other person for marriage, there's nothing that could ever tear it apart. I have no idea. Because maybe this person's faithful and this person goes and chooses their own, whatever they want to choose, and they don't submit to God. But when God works, it's through two submitted people. So if you're submitted and the other person is submitted, and then God brings you into alignment, that's the one, you know what I mean? So you just have to trust him to guide and teach you. Because, I mean, I've personally been in a moment where the Lord's telling me some really, really interesting things. And like, it's out of my comfort zone and I'm doing my best to listen, and that's just what he's gonna do sometimes. There are just things that God can see that you can't. And that's why we surrender, we submit. Because like I told a friend a few months ago who was considering a few job opportunities, she was looking at this seemingly very neutral option of like, I could have a job here and I would move here and this would be what I do. And then maybe there's this thing over here that really doesn't make as much sense right now, but you know, what do I do? And my whole thing was like, this thing that looks perfect on paper over here, you don't know what's actually behind that door. Only God knows what's behind that door. And then this thing over here that looks a little confusing or maybe unorthodox, or like it's not ready yet, or it's not the time yet, whatever it might be. Again, God only knows what's behind that door. So when you really start digging into like submitting to the Lord, like seeking him and trusting him, he's gonna throw you some curveballs. He's gonna let the enemy set up a perfect door right here with the perfect person, the perfect situation. And then he's gonna give you this one. And he's gonna be like, you hear my voice, you hear it loud and clear, but are you gonna trust me? Are you gonna trust me and walk through this door? Even if it seems harder at first and it's crazier and it's unorthodox and nobody gets what I'm doing in your life, are you gonna walk through this door and see the promise in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? You're gonna see the fruit of this door compared to here. You're gonna get the fruit right away. You're gonna eat that little basket of fruit up like it's candy, and then that's it. And then come all the consequences. Because not every decision is neutral. Things that seem neutral might not be in the kingdom. Okay, this is the outro now because my camera is just overheating and life's crazy. But yeah, those are my general tips on singleness, how to heal while you're single. Because if you can heal single, another thing to just quickly add is like, when you're dating people, you're not dating them selfishly. When you're approaching life, like I've talked about in this video, you date them thinking like, this may or may not be my person. How can I respect them and set a good standard for whoever comes along next? How can I help them to see what they deserve in the process too, and like how they should be treated, how they should be respected. So when you really care about like, how am I stewarding myself in this moment of singleness? Am I turning to distractions? Like, what am I filling the void with? Like, when you do that work, you don't have to put so much into dating. You can go in, like, this is my favorite analogy. Like, a lot of people go into dating like this. Like, I want this and I want that and I want this. This is how you walk into dating. It's the same thing with anything else. This is a job I want, the job I want. If it's right for me, it'll come to me. Doesn't mean you don't put in the work, but it means that like, there's also a level of trust and a level of like, I don't know what's best for me, but the Lord knows what's best for me. And I've submitted to his will and I trust that that is going to be the best thing and that I hear him. So yeah, learn to hear God's voice, take care of yourselves, diversify your sense of self, and just do the work. And don't do the work thinking like, I'm doing this for my husband. Do it for you. Do it because you should do it for all areas of your life, for your kids, for your employees, for your friends, for whoever, like I said. So, that's it for today. Bye.